Many people who visit our page likely recognize the guest and probably follow his page too. And my question is it that in our generation there is a great thirst for Torah? Do people want to learn Torah? Maybe it just seems that way to us because we're in the small YouTube algorithm showing us videos about Judaism, but outside that, there may be more atheism and distance from the Torah's teachings. We will discuss that in a few moments. I want to welcome a person who I dare say it has taken a couple of years to have here. And finally, Rav Natan Menashe is here with me. I'm going to share a bit of Rav Natan's biography so you can get to know him, although you've probably already seen him. As I said, he studied in the old city of Jerusalem in one of the yeshivot, one of the most well-known Jewish study centers in the world, a Spanish-speaking Sephardic center called Midrash Sephardi. And also in the academic field, he studied systems analysis, but basically dedicated his life to the Torah. He is a rabbi in Machon Meir, in Machon Ora, and he is also a rabbi in some communities in cities like Kochav Yaakov in Israel. What's impressive is the Rav has interacted with hundreds. I asked if it reached the hundreds, and it does. Hundreds of groups of people from places like Yeshivot, from Aish HaTorah, and well, many other places, and from where you have seen. Maybe Rav Natan sounds familiar to you because you've probably seen him on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. He has his channel Judaism and Google, where you can watch his videos and his teachings. They have reached tens of millions of people, according to the data I saw. And Rav, welcome.
Jacob, it's a pleasure to be with you. Also, I always watched you a lot, even though you didn't know I was watching you, because I'm always impressed by the way you speak down to earth, with common sense, with logic. And I love how you say such important and relatable things in short sentences in the same way that I think. That's why you say, wow, that's great. I used to greet you, but I don't know if you recognized me. I used to send greetings when you were there in the army and you were in the middle of the war and you were telling what was happening. And honestly, I was moved listening to you.
Thank you, Rav. It's a huge honor for me that especially someone like you says that. Now, I'd like to ask you that question, Rav. You who have interacted with so many groups, so many types of people, who have even worked in organizations with people who are approaching Judaism and converting to Judaism, is it just an illusion, maybe a placebo that we're giving ourselves? And in reality, atheism is much bigger and we're just making our last struggles before drowning?
Look, I don't think so. I really think there's a thirst for knowledge, for learning, for studying, for going deeper into the great values. Every human being likes, I don't know, to move forward. I think every human being likes to progress in life, to study, to learn. And I think that's what happens with YouTube and all the tools we have nowadays for those of us who work a lot on YouTube. From the way people write and express themselves, I can see that they enjoy it. They enjoy studying, they enjoy learning, they enjoy getting closer to God. In their own way, each one in their own way from anywhere. And I was really struck the other day when someone wrote to me and said he was in a prison. So I found it really striking that someone in a prison
is listening to a Torah class.
Right? It gives you goosebumps from Argentina and you say, yes, my name is this, my name is Guido. And honestly, I always like listening to you whenever I have the chance, whenever they give me time to listen, to have internet, because well, it's nice. I don't know. It gives you pleasure to reach the whole world. I think so, that I think people do want to know. It's true, there's also atheism. I'm not saying there isn't, but most people are good, really. And they want to learn and want to get closer to God. And they like it. They like to go deeper. When they listen to Torah classes, there's something for every style. There are those who like the magical, the wow, those strange things. Not us. That's not what we do. For me, the Torah is wisdom and intelligence, and atheism exists. And I think there is.
Extraordinary.
And so the Torah, it speaks to any human being because it talks about goodness. It talks about the values that a human being wants to achieve. It talks about the beauty of family. It talks about the beauty of a good society. So I think, yes, people do seek God.
In fact, what you say, I agree that the Torah speaks to everyone. Also, those who are looking for more self-help content can find it. About finances too. It covers everything. And since the Jewish people have seen that you can sit the grandfather and the 3-year-old child together to study the same book, which is the Torah, and both of them draw conclusions from the same words. It's multidimensional. Rav, what is it that attracts people to the Torah? I mean, why this approach? You tell me people who listen to you from that corner that people want to get out of, obviously, or for those seeking improvement or searching for God, I wonder what is so appealing since God exists in other religions like Islam. So this isn't about that, I think. What is the spark that Judaism has, in your opinion?
I think that Judaism, the extraordinary thing about Judaism is that it speaks to life, to having a beautiful life, a good life. Everyone wants to live well, wants to enjoy life, wants to elevate themselves spiritually at their own level, and wants to, I don't know, they seek values like friendship, like a society, a just, good, upright society. I think that when they listen to Torah classes of this kind, because the Torah talks about all of that, they admire it because people admire what is good and beautiful. So when they hear that the Torah is speaking about life, so they love it. I imagine that everyone on YouTube goes around searching. There's all kinds of things, right? Some people are really into sports. I like sports too, and that's fine. I'm not saying otherwise. Me too. It's part of Jewish life. Jewish life has something for everyone. It's about living well, living with joy. It's not about locking yourself in a bubble. On the contrary, it's about that. You're a professional, but you have the Torah and you love it, and well, that's how it is. Life is beautiful. So I think that people, if they admire, there's an admiration when they listen to some of the classes that are on the internet that talk about their life, about improving their marriage, or about getting along with their children, or ethical and moral advice that's beautiful. So do people like that? So if the Torah proposes and talks about that, people like it. I think it's normal, it's natural.
You propose, Rav. To what extent? I mean, for example, could an atheist also fulfill this ideal of being a good person? No, 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 no. But if you don't believe in Hashem, is there a contradiction here?
I'll tell you what I think is that honestly, someone who says they're an atheist, I don't know if they're really an atheist. That needs to be defined because we have to define what their definition of God is. Maybe he says he's an atheist because he has a definition of God that isn't exactly correct. And so he says he's an atheist, but maybe if we talk in a more universal way and maybe we reach a basic conclusion. What do I mean when I talk about God? Maybe he says, I accept that. I just didn't call it God. So maybe he's not an atheist, or maybe he is an atheist. Now, if he really says there is no first being from which everything comes, well, then he would be an atheist. But I say that there is a lot of atheism that isn't really true atheism. I mean, they have a childish idea of God. And that childish idea, if you think that God had a body and a form and he doesn't agree with that, it's fine that he doesn't agree with that because God isn't that. He's not an atheist. He thought he was an atheist, but he's not an atheist. So maybe an idea. So I think that by talking about people, we could reach a basic conclusion that God exists. And about that, and of course, wanting to be a good person and have ethical values. And that's great. So I think that we could prove, I don't know, we'd have to see, right? That it's not a real true atheism. I mean, he's really not an atheist. But we'd need to discuss it with the person who claims that's how he is, or something like that. I think there's room for, again, after all, the Torah also aims for a good society, good people, and obviously the true beliefs, which is God, one God. That's fine. If it covers the basics of society and being a good person, it's correct. Everything counts, and that's extraordinary. Also, it's a goal of the Torah to create a good society, right? Obviously, I say that, I think, yes, it would have to go with the concept of the true God, because that's what will make those values correct and balanced.
Some people will say,
well, mercy is the greatest, but if mercy means turning the other cheek, no, we understand that's not the case. So, I mean, thank you. Yes, an idea of mercy and justice the right way as it's taught, right? With justice, right? Thank you.
of course, no, what you're saying, I also think along those lines that precisely the atheists' criticism, as they call themselves, is the criticism of the God of religion, of God. Yes, so that's it. If that's the point of reference, then I also share that kind of atheism. We think alike.
I mean, first you have to bring it down to the basic idea of what God is. And if at that point he says, oh, yes, I agree with that, then that's it. We've already started off on the right foot. Oh, well, that's what I mean by God. I'm not referring to what others say.
No, exactly. Now, Rav, it was the last thing you said, that famous phrase about turning the other cheek. And then I turn the other cheek. I'd like to get into the events of these last 2 years now. which we're about to complete, Israel, which changed not just Israel, but the whole Middle East and Europe and everything all of a sudden. An awakening all over the world about an issue that was so local in Israel, and now everyone is losing their heads over it. Have you seen any real change in people on social media because of this? I mean, I'm not talking about the haters who write to you like free Palestine, but rather that there's a different kind of thirst, a different kind of approach before and after the start of this war.
Well, yes, honestly, yes. I think that after October 7th, a lot of people really saw the great injustice being done to Israel. And they tell the truth and support Israel and love it and write good things about Israel. It's true that, as you said, the other side and the extremists also listen to you, who, as we always say, are ignorant. So if they're ignorant, they say anything. But there are people really who, since what happened on October 7th, have become very attached to Israel. People who previously had no involvement, but suddenly began praising Israel on social media, something they didn't do before, because they got upset about what's happening on the other side, and they took up that flag. Yes, me, Israel. I also have a son in Gaza. I have my two sons-in-law too, my Luis, also in Gaza, all of them like you, whom I heard, I don't know where, in which unit you're in, but that was very interesting. But we also have the whole family. Well, I love someone who loves the Torah, loves the land of Israel. You love the people of Israel and its nation. Well, that's the way we think, right? So I think, yes, there was a great awakening among non-Jewish people, also among Jews who were more assimilated. Their identity awakened a lot, but not Yehudim. Yehudim, but they are the people who think and who like to learn, who like to see the beauty in life, they say. If Israel is a people that brings peace to the world, brings the most beautiful things to the world, why do they go against them? On the contrary, I think so. It's a shame with these high levels of ignorance, like you say. How can it be? I was listening to you yesterday. They said Hollywood, all of them are against. But I thought this actor was smart. You see them as actors. They're good actors. You think they think, but it seems like they don't think. How can they support this? Terrorism. I don't understand how they can support terrorism. It's unbelievable.
In fact, I was saying it in a broadcast recently that we Jews have been losing the battle of public image for 2000 years. Like we've always been the bad guys. So in this regard, not much has changed. But about what you mentioned, Arav, I was thinking, and tell me if you agree, if you've seen this, now that you're telling me about your interactions with people outside of Israel too. For example, you have all these people in Hollywood and all those who go on flotillas trying to enter Gaza, and they're people who say they support a cause, so they support it. But what I've seen is that the people who support Israel are people who truly support Israel, to the point that they've written to me like, hey, how can I join the Israeli army? Like, and I say, wow, I mean, if I take this environmentalist girl from the flotilla and ask her, hey, are you willing to join the Hamas army to fight against Israel? I'm not sure she'd be that willing, but many others have written to me. I mean, it seems to me that the love for the Israeli cause goes beyond what is supposed to be support for the other cause. I don't know if it's pro Gaza or if it's anti Israel. Do you notice something like that, Rav? Honestly,
Hearing about people wanting to fight for Israel reminded me of others who wrote to me about the same thing. You're right. And you say, I don't know, I was left. I mean, like all these volunteer programs, there are a lot of programs for people who want to help and they come. But people told me, but I want to join the army. And I don't know where to send them because, well, it's the intention, the desire. Perfect. But they say it like that and they really mean it. You're right. Yes, they really mean it. I mean, they would fight. They fight for Israel because it means something to them. And the others don't. The others do it just because they're anti-Israel. That's all. Yes, a lot of them. But when you told me, you made me remember. That's why I say, wow, it's true. Look, you too. I would say the same thing. It's incredible.
yes. I mean, it's like the fire, the light is much brighter than what the darkness tries to make dark. I mean, it's something that really caught my attention. Rav, and to wrap up, where are we going with all of this in the end? And I'm going to add everything we've talked about. People who want to get closer, maybe also people who believe they are atheists and also have their own rebelliousness against the existing religious standards, plus war, plus this great anti-Israel narrative, against the pro-Israel narrative. What does all this lead to? Where does it take us?
I think that in these last 2 years, as Rabbi Ton always likes to say, we are living in biblical times. It seems to me that what happened in these 2 years in such a short time was wow, because there were things we never would have imagined. It's like the Gula, the final redemption, is getting closer, I don't know, or that the Jews return, Israel returns to the land of Israel. And today, Israel is a people on Hashem's path and a light to the nations. Something like an ideal, but it seems like things have gotten worse. It started to accelerate intensively in the last 2 years. And well, I mean, who would have thought again? Goodbye, Hezbollah, goodbye to going against Iran. Things they used to say until they gave the okay to do something. So in all of this that might seem negative, I go further. You live in Israel and you know Channel 14, which is a channel that Arimon shut down. Where? I see it that way. There is really great news in Israel. The people of Israel are very united. I think the people of Israel, I mean, not what they say on television, but those who are in the army, those who are at work. This is what they say in the army. Everyone is there, the most religious, the least religious, Ashkenazi. Everyone, all of Israel is 100% united in fighting for their identity, for us. So broadly speaking, I would see that all these things add up to something positive. I mean, even with everything people want to say against it, that shows that people are waking up and want to move forward, and that the light and the truth are becoming clearer and clearer. So I think positively that we are living in a great time here in Israel. And well, for the world, we see that the world has its eyes on Israel. That's also something incredible. Everyone always watches Israel. Millions of things happen in other countries without comment, but everyone focuses on Israel. It's something like that, like biblical things, or I don't know how to say it. Biblical times as described in the Bible and related stories of great things. Like now they're happening. You have to have the eyes to see them, right? You have to have the eyes.
See them, but they're happening. I want to challenge the audience. Open the Bible, the Tanakh, and look for events of this magnitude. I think what's happening now is much more extraordinary than almost any story in the Tanakh. I mean, we're really living in incredibly significant times. And thank you very much for having
An example. Yesterday I went with my wife to the supermarket. We went shopping to getting ready for the holidays, for Shabbat. And we left the supermarket and it turns out that they attacked Hamas there in Qatar. Well, I don't know if in the end we don't know what happened, what's true, what's not. But like the news of the day, I came in here suddenly, boom, suddenly other news. They're big news from one day to the next. We weren't there. I think it's something very intense, very intense.
Yes, it is. We are in very significant times. Rav, thank you very much for being here. Thank you also for your work showing this good side to the world. With God's help, may the public also get to know the light that Israel has to offer the world. Greetings.
A light, a gigantic light, truly gigantic, and it's for the good of everyone. Yes, for the good of all humanity. As we always say, I'm Israel Chai.